Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Alright guys, I got a little different video for today. It's another, I guess a how-to video or whatnot. I looked all over the internet, all over YouTube, and just not very good videos or tutorials on this. There's a guy that rebuilds bike hubs, but he doesn't talk, doesn't say nothing. He has music playing, he just points at stuff. It's really, it's not that great. So I figured I would just go through and I'll explain what I got and what happened and what I tried to do to fix it. So here we go. We went to a Goodwill store and son found this team frame bike here that was in there for 25 bucks. When we got it, the only thing it didn't do, when it would just spin, the back wheel wouldn't move. So the caster in the back, the roller in the back that drives it, that whole thing, that was messed up. And the sprocket was bent. So what we did is we put an old pair of pedals. We stuck them on there, and I bought a brand new sprocket and a brand new chain. We replaced those two. So then it came back to, now we just have to, oh yeah, it didn't have brakes. So we put a brand new, ordered a brand new set of brakes also on it as well. So then the only thing left was the rear hub wheel assembly, and then I'm gonna cut back and I'll show you guys what I found with that. All right guys, so this is a hub here is made by Quando. I guess it's a cheap coaster. It comes with a coaster on the side here that it came with. That is the name brand of it. Now I did find one online from a website, but it's I think it's 25-30 bucks to replace it with the same exact one. And it's like I said, a lot of people said it's not very good, and it's good for coming up in a pinch. So anyway, the reason why we got this bike here, it wasn't why it would not spin, there's little paws in here just like on a ratchet. Like I was saying guys, there's a spring that runs through the middle of this here. You can see that the tail of the spring, it sits in here and then it threads around and it runs right through the middle of all these balls. Well, all these balls were rusted and all of them were froze in like that. And that's why it wouldn't, why it wasn't spinning either way. It wasn't doing anything. They were all locked up. So we ended up pulling this whole thing apart, cleaning it. See, it's got grease all over it. We put it all back in. Now here's the other piece that goes inside there. Like I said, it's like the teeth of a ratchet. Here they glide across. They glide across this. This nut's in the way, but yeah, they just ride across there, and that's what drives it. There are ball bearings in the top here, and then there's more ball bearings. You got to put a little bit of grease in the bottom, but you stack this bottom full of grease too, and that sits down on this other inner race right here. You can see there's okay. Try this again. Keep getting interrupted here. But anyway, so they're the issues that I was having. Now, when you take that apart, there's a nut on here. You gotta unthread this piece here. This would come off, and it's you're gonna need a 19 millimeter cone wrench when you take this apart. That's what size this is. Okay, so here is, I got the nut off here. Here's the nut. As you can see, you have a place where the bearings would sit. There's the bearings right there, and that when you tighten this up, this should go down inside there like that, and it would ride along it like that. So when I was putting this on here, putting all this all together, sticking your coaster in there, when I would screw this nut down, I was still getting probably a quarter of an inch, almost a half inch of play in this thing. It wasn't tightening up, no matter how tight I tightened this nut here on the side of this here. So I tried, all the ball bearings were destroyed, so I had replaced the ball bearings in here that I had ordered off of Amazon. That still did not help after tightening this all the way up. So what I did this time, I said I'm going to take it apart, tear it all the way down again. So that's what I did. And I started looking at these, running the nut down, see how far this nut would run down onto this spindle here. And as you can see right here, you guys can see that right here, the thread, this right here, this thread is messed up. And that's where it's getting stuck right there. And it's not allowing this nut to drive all the way down into this coaster, so I could tighten this up properly, because it's it was tearing up the ball bearings. Like I said, this was all locked up when we got it. So what I'm going to do tonight is I don't have any of the correct dies here at home, but I'm going to, or a die or a thread chaser. But we're going to go home or go to work tonight. I'm going to run a die. I'm going to run it all the way down here and clear this thread up, and hopefully that'll take care of this. Now, to figure out what size thread that is, now I already measured it. It's a 14 millimeter by 1. So go on my metric kit here, and you get your thread gauge. And here is the 1.0. Like I said, the 1. We're just going to go ahead and I'll show you that real quick. So there's your pitch gauge. And as you can see, that fits right down in there really good. If I get the focus, you guys can really see. There you go. It fits in those threads very well. So that's how you get the pitch of the thread that you need. And then I used a pair of calipers to measure the outside of this. I mean, it's already in metric, and I'm just going to go ahead and just clamp it on the outside here. And 13.72, but it's 14 millimeter. If you want to switch this over to inches, it's 0.541. But yeah, so it's a 14 millimeter. So I'm gonna get a 14 millimeter. There we go. If I get here, there's 14 millimeter right there. And that's barely hitting the threads right there. That's where you want. It's 14 millimeter. And I don't have a 14 millimeter at home, so I'm going to get a 14 millimeter by 1, and I'm going to run a die. So we're just going to run the die down here, and then we'll see how that caster is. We're going to go ahead and we'll try and reinstall this tomorrow with new ball bearings in the bottom. But that's it, guys. I'll show you. We're going to go ahead and we're just going to cut. All right, everybody, welcome back. Okay, so it's been about 2 weeks since I started this video. Now, I had to order this die off of Amazon, and it took about 2.5 weeks to get here. I believe it came from China, and the size of it, it's an M14, but the thread pitch is is why I had to order it. It's a 1. All I had at work was a 1.25 and a 1.550 or whatever, 1.5. So I didn't have nothing like this. The machine shop that I have at work, they didn't have one. Nobody I knew had one. They said this is a special die, so I definitely told me I had to order it. So I had ordered this die here off Amazon. Actually, I'm sorry, I ordered it off eBay, and it was about $15. This one is a round die. I was kind of hoping it was the hexagon shaped one. That way I could have used a pair of channel of just regular pliers on it. So this one here, I'm just going to go ahead and use a pair of locking pliers once I get it on there and get it down there. We're going to go over this threaded area, but I already had tried it just to show you guys real quick, but I already know that it works. Like I said, I already ran it down on here a little bit, but we're going to run it down. We're going to run it as close as I can to the inside of this. And then I'll cut back in and show you guys what the final product is. Okay, so I just ran it down there. Now I was having some trouble once I got down to the where the thread was messed up. So I was hearing a crackling sound from the coming from the die. So come to look at it here, this cheap Chinese die, as you can see, I broke off a couple of the maybe the first tooth or something on this side here. So it wasn't going into it, so I flipped it over and I ran it down there again. Now I was using tap magic here, cutting fluid while I was doing this. So like I said, I put the tap magic onto this side here and got it to go all the way down. But as you can see, not the best job, but it worked. Got it. Once you get down to that spot, it does get a little bit tight, but you can use your 19mm wrench and just spin it through there. It's not super tight, but it's not. You're not spinning it. You're not going to be able to spin it by hand. But once you get past the rough spot, you can go ahead and spin it by hand. So it's just that one little spot. It's just a little bit tight right there. It's got like, you probably got 2 turns, and then it's a little bit easier. It's not super tight, but you can definitely tell it's, the threads are still a little bit jacked up. But at least you can get the nut on there now, and you can draw it all the way down, and you can set the proper tension to the cassette, the freewheel cassette. That way you can set it to the right depth with your new ball bearings, and not going to have an issue with that now. So now we're just going to go ahead and put the new ball bearings back into it. We're going to set it back in there, and then we're going to go ahead and put the nut back on and just see how it turns out. Okay, so as you can see now, there's no play in here at all now. Sounds good now. The nut was drawn all the way back down in there. So we're going to go ahead and put this tire back on the bike. But yeah, now as you can see, I can tighten this by hand now. I can tighten it so tight that it doesn't hardly want to turn. Or like I said, I can back it up.